Hello there, I'm Callum Johns and welcome to the EU in Review, where I review the Star Wars Expanded Universe as I experience it. Today I'm going to be talking about Mission From Mount Yoda, written by Paul Davids and Hollace Davids, and published in 1993. I'll begin with the blurb. A dying planet, a desperate mission, and a prophecy of doom for the Rebel Alliance. The battle against the evil Empire rages on as heroic men, women, and aliens of the Rebel Alliance continue to struggle to end the era of darkness. But now, a mysterious visitor comes to the Rebel fortress atop Mount Yoda, bringing ominous news. Kadan, supreme prophet of the dark side, plots to capture and destroy the carbonized body of Trioculus and take control of the Empire. Meanwhile, the Rebel Alliance races to save the archaeologists of the dying planet Juro, only to discover an incredible mystery in the underground tunnels, a secret that depends on a perilous mission from Mount Yoda. So, I'll begin going through all the notes that I take as I go through it. First, there's an alliance base on Dagobah. I don't see why that is practical. Dagobah is supposed to be the isolated place in the middle of nowhere where Yoda goes to die. And so they have an alliance base on there for what seems like no reason and not very practical, as far as being near shipping lanes and all that. I believe this is the first appearance of a compact assault vehicle, which is really cool. And it actually introduces some technology that is never seen again in this series, like the threaded neutron torch, which I mentioned in a previous review. It's odd how much authority the Prophets of the Dark Side hold, even over the Grand Moffs, I think the power scale really is a bit out of whack in these books. But it does show how powerful knowledge can be, because basically the Prophets of the Dark Side hold all of the knowledge, and that's what gives them power over the Grand Moffs. It says they use paper instead of using terms that are later used in the expanded universe, like flimsy plast is the main material that they use to write on. And the Juros' skin colour is grey, which is instead of the normal blue like we see in A New Hope when a Juro is there. And if you don't know what the Juros looks like, they're big, sort of bulbous head, with red eyes, and they've got blue skin, the normal ones. I'll pop up a picture. It also says the Empire has turned the planet Juro into a garbage dump for toxic chemicals, and I haven't actually read about Juro recently in anything, so it's possible that that could be. But I'm going to be keeping an eye out for that as I read through more of the expanded universe in chronological order, as best I know how. There's a CCY anti-radar defense unit that seems like an early form of a cloaking device, early as in this is early as far as release date goes. But it says it protects them from Imperial radars. So a normal radar would be able to see them, but not an Imperial one? There's no point in saying that it protects them from Imperial radars if it's not super specific to an Imperial radar. So I don't quite understand that part of it. Luke uses a paper map in the book, instead of doing the normal thing that they should do in Star Wars and use a data pad with the map on it. Or at least have some flimsy plast, because that'd be stronger than paper. And this actually introduces and reveals the character of Triclops. And it's interesting how his introduction is. He actually seems interesting to me. and like how much he actually knows about the Empire and his whole view of what he wants the Empire to be. These anti-gravity carts, instead of saying they're repulsor lifts, which I guess I'd give it a pass just for being an early book. But I'd say, why do you not use some of the terms that they established in the Thrawn trilogy? And yeah, on page 76 there's a nice little scene where someone's torturing a Juro to try and find the archaeologist, and it says that Define pushed 2 needles into the true centers of his victim's brain. Yeah, some of this actually gets a bit graphic, but he's actually a Defel the Torturer, and he's basically a wolf man, as you see in the picture here. I do think a Xenomac is a really cool name, but I think it's a bit wasted on a giant drill, really. Like, they call this giant drill Xenomac. Why not have that as the name of one of the sub-antagonists, I'll say. Why not do that? It also mentions an Imperial Quake scale. So they could just make up a number, and I don't actually know how powerful this earthquake is that it's making. There's no point of reference for it, really. So you have to try and work out how powerful it is just from the description of the distraction it's causing. Oh, and yes, one of the other interesting things in this is the power in Triclops' back eye. So, Triclops has 3 eyes, like Trioculus, but instead of having one in his forehead, he has one in the back of his head with hypnotic powers. And apparently in the book, there's probably a picture. Yes, there's a picture here from the back of his head. It actually fires a beam out and shifts people. Yeah, it's weird, but it's interesting. I'm just doing it to enjoy it. And yeah. So a sub-antagonist, or I should say an Imperial that's been through all of these books so far, Grand Moff Hissa, gets melted by acid, as you can see in this picture here. But the reason I'm mentioning that is because it's actually way more brutal than I thought a death might be in a children's book. Because it eats away at his legs, and Hissa thrashes helplessly, trying to remove himself from the chemicals, but then, as he tries to prop himself up, his arms slide into the toxic chemicals and they start disintegrating. And yeah, I can just imagine this being done in a movie and it being really horrifying. It's actually really cool. I like those, even though this is a kid's book and I'm not sure. Maybe my imagination is a little bit more gruesome than a kid's would be. That's cool. It's also interesting, along with Triclops' view on what the Empire should be, which is quite interesting because he wants to create an empire without the dark side. And as I thought about this, I actually thought about the Fel Empire, which starts in the Fate of the Jedi series later on. So does this book foreshadow the Fel Empire? That's a question that's just a speculation, but it's interesting. Now, for the overall thoughts, thinking about it, Shadows of Mindor, as I get more used to the quirkiness of this series, there's actually a good lead-in for this Jedi Prince series. It introduces the idea of making holodramas, which this feels very much like. If it was a holodrama, then it would make much more sense than it being something that's real. Not that the events are completely wrong either. And overall, about the same level of writing as the others and the same level of enjoyment. And some people don't like them, but I'm just taking enjoyment from it as best I can. And I'm doing that. I'm just enjoying some of the quirkiness and everything on it. So, that's my thoughts on Mission from Mount Yoda. If you've read it, what are your thoughts? Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.